it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be in front of thousands of people all the time, but it might be that one yard that you cut, or that one client that you serve, or that one team member that you encourage that makes the difference in that moment.
Wow, we would have never believed this. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on Google. Go out there and listen to us. So we're excited about it. We're glad you're excited about it too.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Lunch Break. I'm Mike here solo today with my friend, my newer friend, Wesley Woods. And we had met online through just some mutual groups and some other stuff. And I know I originally had reached out to Wesley because I liked a lot of the faith-based stuff that he had been posting. And as a fellow believer and a fellow marketer, business owner, and everything else, we've had a lot in common. We've had a lot of great conversation, and I think you guys are all going to really enjoy this conversation with Wesley. So, Wesley, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mike. Man, it's an honor to be here. It's been a pleasure getting to know you over the past couple of months, and just looking forward to being on the podcast today. Thank you for the invite.
Oh, of course. And, we're all about especially promoting other godly businessmen who are doing work for the kingdom and doing work in the marketplace. So
awesome.
Love that.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that's right up my alley. So I'm glad to be here.
Cool, man. And so, we're just going to kind of dive into your story. And I know now, you have this visibly marketing, you do some consulting with some e-com brands and some, local service-based businesses and contractors and I imagine plumbing, roofing, some of those.
That's right. Yes.
Cool. So, let's go kind of back to the beginning. And I, at one point, not too long ago, you were in the ministry and you were doing a lot of stuff there. So let's talk about that and then kind of how you ended up where you're at now.
Yeah. So my journey really started in ministry. It was my goal, as a goal of most young men growing up, to play Major League Baseball. And you can see I'm repping my Braves shirt today. But I, going through high school, played sports, was a pretty decent baseball player, had the opportunity to go play college baseball. But for me, there was just something missing. I had recently, as a 11th grader, a junior in high school, given my life to Jesus. And that kind of propelled me into just something new in my life. And so I played college baseball for a year.
Where'd you play at?
I played at an NAI school called Bruton Parker College,
okay.
here, which is kind of local to my hometown in that area. And through that process, just really felt like something was missing. I started serving a good bit with my youth ministry. My youth pastor really began to turn some things over to me at our church. And so I was speaking a lot, doing a lot there. And that basically opened up an opportunity for me to serve full time at a different church here in the community that we live in now. And so my journey started off as a full-time youth pastor. We served at a church called Cedar Crossing Church of God for about 9 years in full-time ministry before we moved to the Nashville, Tennessee area to plant a church. The church planting journey was kind of where everything come to a head for us. And everything really, honestly, started falling apart. We were really challenged during that season. We moved away from everyone that we knew. It was a huge, massive step of faith that just did not work out in our favor. But looking back, I'm just grateful that even in the midst of the mess, sometimes that God is faithful, that He's there. And I look back now and I see how much I learned that really prepared me even for business leadership. But we did that for 2 years and just couldn't really get anything going. And eventually I would go on the road in the music industry as a tour manager. And so it was that place where God really began to shift some things. That was 2014. We moved to Murfreesboro, to the Nashville area in 2012 for the church plant. But in 2014, that was kind of that season for us where I started, realizing that, maybe my life is going to look a little bit different. My role, my purpose is going to look a little bit different than just within the context of full-time local church ministry. And it took me a little while to figure that out. And so I, served out on the road as a tour manager with a band called Building 429 for a year. That didn't really fit who I was because, you're just away from family. It was a great opportunity. Got to see, the United States and travel a lot and go to a lot of cool places and meet a lot of cool people. But my family was at home at that time. My daughter was about 6 or 7 years old. I felt like I was missing everything that she was doing. And so I come off the road, just really searching, seeking. In the process of all of this, it's kind of crazy, but even going back to like 2006, I was still serving in youth ministry, and just kind of trying to figure out how to earn extra income. I started dabbling in website design, and that's really where the marketing journey for me began, was in website design. And so I started doing some projects for friends in ministry, and fast forward about 2014, 2015, I'm trying to figure this thing out, and I keep seeing, I guess I'm going to say seeing in the back of my mind, like this thing that's kind of been there that I've had the opportunity to kind of create some income from through the church planning journey, through my time with Building 429. Even whenever I would pray, God, please take this away from me so I can focus on what my job is in the moment, it just kind of stayed there. And it was that I was able to kind of go to in about 2016, 2017, which is really when I started focusing on my career in the marketplace, is what I'm going to call it, and looking at this different from the standpoint of, okay, it's not that I'm no longer in ministry. It just looks a little bit different because my business is my ministry now. And so
that's right.
The last, 6 years, I've really been hyper focused just on running my marketing business, and that's changed and evolved over the past few years, especially through like the COVID season and all of that good stuff. But God's been faithful through it all. And again, I look back now, especially on the church plant, because we had a very successful 9 years of youth ministry. And so I'm going to say this carefully, but it was almost good for me to fail, because I had not really experienced a whole lot of failure in my life up to that point. And so it was through that season of things not necessarily going the way I thought they needed to go that God probably taught me the most. And I was able to learn the most and pull the most, especially even into a season like today where, there's constant shifts within your business and ebbs and flows, but you're able to look back and say, man, if I was able to navigate through that years ago, then I can definitely navigate this or through this today. And so just grateful for where God's got me at, and the focus of marketplace ministry and trying to serve the clients that we serve in a way that honors God, and just excited about what he's doing through my life and through business right now.
That's awesome, man. And I love you. Love that story. Thank you for sharing that. Now, when we go back, kind of dissect, some of the questions I had along the way, because I didn't want to interrupt your story because you were on a roll there. But so you went to Nashville to plant this church, and like one of the things that stuck out to me about that story was that you felt like things didn't work out the way they were supposed to. But I think things did work out the way they were supposed to, because like God had a different calling, but he needed to kind of take you in a different path for you to see that.
That's 100% right. I felt like God needed me to get uncomfortable. I'd never been uncomfortable before. And, I'm not one that thinks that, hey, God moves you here and like everything, he wants everything to fall apart. Because there was a lot of bad leadership on my part through that season. Just not knowing what to do, not having adequate training, not having adequate funding, things like that all contributed to the church plant not working like God probably intended for it to work. But you're right. I mean, it's almost like God said, hey, even though there's some things going on within you right now that's not necessarily right, I can still shift this and bring something beautiful out of the mess that's been made to some extent. And so definitely glad that you brought that out in that, because that is definitely true.
Yeah. So, so you went to Nashville as part of a church plant for the church you had already been working in, or was it a new church?
So it was going to be a new church. Our organization that I still have my ministry credentials in today, they had kind of identified us as me and my wife as young leaders. They had been talking to me about church planting for about 3 or 4 years prior to
Mm-hmm.
that, and so you know we basically moved up to Nashville from Southeast Georgia on the premise and on the the request of the organization that I'm a part of.
That's cool. And it was through that, and then connecting with Building 429, which I've heard of, and probably a lot of older, Christians have, right? Because they weren't a super small name band. They were a decent name, and I don't know if they're around anymore, but um, you kind of went on that journey, and it was probably through some of that too that took you into business, right?
Definitely, and that season really, um, when I think about the learning, the what God taught me through that time, there was a lot. But one of the most important things about that season was it gave me a chance to be on the road.
Mm-hmm.
One, financially for us to kind of get some stability again, but then also it it gave me the chance because I had the freedom to be able to continue to learn marketing, to learn website design. So that's when I really started picking up uh, clients here or there in the business space. Because at that time, I really just had been building websites for church friends, youth pastor friends. And so I would have guys in the business world call me up and say, "Have you ever done email marketing, or
Mm-hmm.
have you ever created automations?" And so at the time, I was just trying to take on everything, trying to learn all that I could. And that job gave me the opportunity to really dive into that because it was busy whenever we were out on the road, but there were seasons where, we didn't have a lot going on. And so I was working from home and just able to really dive into what marketing was all about.
That's awesome. And so, at what point did you move back, or where you live now is where you originated from, right?
That's right. Yes.
So, at
So
what
we,
point did you move back there?
So we actually moved back in 2019, out of the blue. It's kind of weird, and I think this is how God brought this full circle and us back home because I would have never come back home. I,
Hmm.
I was kind of in the midst of a struggle within business and trying to get things going, and God opened up a door for me to come home through our school system, where I had the athletic director who I'm friends with and the head football coach reached out. They were like, "Hey, we're trying to build a staff of football coaches. We know you're a sports guy. We're trying to build a staff of football coaches that love this community and that are followers of Jesus." And it was not a private school; it was a public school system, and it was kind of crazy because there were a lot of things I tried from the church plant not working out through this time. So, like I was out there hustling. I was trying to make things work, and things I just couldn't really get things going. Even with the marketing stuff, it just seemed slow, and yeah, I couldn't never really get to the point where I picked up enough clients for it to be self-sustaining. And so I remember going home to my wife because the athletic director called me over the phone, and I come home and I said, "Hey, I got this weird call today," and told her about it. And she was like, "Well, how do you feel about it?" And I said, "I don't know. It's just really weird that they would call and ask me that." And she just really encouraged me to really dig in to pray about it. And so we did, and we felt like it was right for us to come home. And what's crazy about that is my wife is still in the school system. I did not make it. I lasted about 8 months and was like, "Hey, this is not for me. I
Mm-hmm.
am not called to teach and coach." But that was the point where my business really began to take off, which was actually right before COVID hit. And so I really feel like God brought this thing full circle. That's the only way I would have come back. Just a crazy opportunity like that. We
Mm-hmm.
did it. I had a lot of fun coaching high school football for the year that I coached, and I see those kids even around our community today, and they still coach Wesley, coach Woods, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a great opportunity, but um, that's that thing that brought us back to Southeast
That,
Georgia.
that's cool. And there was ministry in that too.
and there was ministry in that. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is Christ followers is, no matter where we find ourselves, we can find opportunity to invest and to sow good seed into the lives of people around us. And God used that season, and he just as he did with the church plant, all the way through with building 429, and some of the small things that we tried to do that didn't work out during that time, to now, like, God just continues to, if we make ourselves available, God will use that.
That's a good word. Yeah. So, interestingly enough, and I probably shared this with you, we're looking at moving to Nashville area.
Wow.
And and I'm not 100% sure on that timeline, because there's some things going on in my life that might fast forward that. But we're looking at moving out there in about a year. So, we're in deep prayer about it. But so
Nashville is a great town to live in. So we'll be praying for you on that as well.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you. So what in your business made the turn, like, once you moved back, like, to where you were then, like, so much more successful back in your hometown?
I think whenever I resigned from the school, it was all I had. Up to that point, there were things that I did that kind of sustained us as a family. And the marketing thing was always just kind of a side thing. And so when I made the decision to resign, COVID hit. I think that just me saying, "Hey, God, this is what I've got." And honestly, I think about the scripture or the story in the Bible where Jesus feeds thousands upon thousands of people with just a couple of loaves of bread and a few fish. And I think the beautiful thing about that story is it shows us that sometimes we may not have a lot to bring, but if we bring what we have, God will take it and he'll bless it. And that's just kind of where I was at. I was like, "God, I don't really have anything right now. Like, this is it. And I need you to do something big with it." And he answered that call. He answered that prayer. And just, I think, being around a local community that they saw you grow up, they knew that you were a youth pastor back in the day. They know you got trying to do the right things, trying to serve people well. I think it led to picking up, local clients at a greater scale. We're very particular about who we work with now, just because we can be at that place. But I think that those are the key things that took place during that season back around, March of 2020.
That's cool. That's cool. I love that, man. And now you're getting ready to move into a new office.
Yes.
And that I'm sure is a a little bit of a step, but it's also like God's blessing on that, I'm sure.
It is. And the great thing about that is just the fact that now I'm really getting to plant my cleats in my hometown. And that's, for me, I used to ride my bike up and down those downtown streets as a kid, and to be able to have an office space there. Our community's excited about it. We don't have a marketing, agency per se in our downtown area like that. We've got a couple that are in the area, but no one has a downtown office. And so they're stoked about it. I'm stoked about it. And it is just a testament of how good God's been. Cool.
That's super awesome. And in your business, tell me a little bit more about that. Like, who is it just you? Do you have employees? Do you have team? Who do you serve? And
yeah, so it is not just me. I do have a couple of employees. They are not based out of the same town that I am. I have a director of operations who was actually my youth pastor way back in the day.
Cool.
And so another thing that's kind of come full circle for me. One of the things that I noticed about him, even growing up, is he was very good at giving people the opportunity to operate their gifts and flourish. And one of the things I always just was like, man, he's got to be a lazy guy or something like that. But he was just really good at getting people to do things. So he could focus on what he was good at, and he would let people operate in their gifts. And so as I was kind of thinking through, because I am very much a visionary, and I knew I needed an integrator for my business, and somebody that could help me with the systems and the processes and things of that nature. And so I knew, like, this is the guy that I want to do this. And so I've been able to bring him on. I do have our lead designer. She does most of our graphic design as well as our website design stuff. Her name is Karina. She is actually based in Spain. She was born and raised in Ukraine and was forced out through the war that's taken place there. But she is just flourishing right now. She is a huge, tremendous asset to our business. And then we have a couple of guys that are based in India that serve on our e-commerce team, and so they basically handle most of the fulfillment whenever it comes to the products that are being added, the SEO that we do on our e-commerce websites. And their names are Sartak and Deval, and they're just incredible, incredible teammates. The cool thing about what we do, and I know you get to experience this some even with what you do and how you do it, is the fact that we do get the opportunity to work with people all over the world. And again, just another opportunity for ministry. And so that's our team. We typically, when it comes to the clients that we work with, we'll pretty much work with anybody if we feel like it's going to fit for us, because we can do a wide range of, or we do provide a wide range of marketing services. But we do like to work with local service-based businesses, your roofing contractors, your plumbers, your HVAC guys, those guys that are out, beating the bushes, growing their businesses. And honestly, we like to work with faith-based local service business owners. That's kind of our niche. The reason we love that is because we are more of a partner in the way that we work. We don't typically work off of retainers. We work off of a build out fee, and then we do a performance-based model. And so we want to work with people who kind of share the same values as we do. And so that's important to us. And then we do have a couple of e-commerce clients that we take care of and work with.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool that you have that performance-based arrangement in your business, because like you're putting your money where your mouth is. You're like, not because there's not a whole lot of marketing companies that are like, hey, you know what? Like we're good enough to the level that we're gonna let our work speak for itself, and you pay us if you make money, and if you don't make money, then hey, that's on us, right? Because we're the marketing company.
That's right. And I used to do it the same way everybody else did. And for me, it was kind of a double-edged sword, honestly, because you've got the side of it that, you're seeing the company, the client, their growth, but you're stuck. Right. And unless they're willing to kind of, add, which of course, most of the time, if they're growing, they're going to do that. You just kind of felt stuck in a retainer. But then there's that other side of it where, we really, and it requires a lot from us. And so like right now we're in the middle of developing a call center for our local service clients, just simply because, we're going to do all the we're doing the lead generation, but we're going to be fielding all the calls and making sure that those leads get followed up with properly, because these guys are busy. And so what we want to do is we want to hand off a very warm lead to one of our clients. And so it does require a little bit more from us. But whenever you can grow and take on few clients because there's growth, and that the growth of your client is also giving you the opportunity to scale financially as well, it just makes sense for us to operate that way.
Yeah, so you don't just function as like, hey, we're providing labor and we're an outside company. Like you're integrated into their company as much as anything, and especially like you're taking their calls. So like you're treating it with a level of ownership.
That's right, 100%. And again, we're still trying to figure this thing out, and it's like constantly changing, and us trying to come up with ideas to make it better. But yeah, we definitely want to have a true, genuine partnership. And, whenever you hear business owners say, hey, man, I've worked with 3 or 4 different companies and all they did was take my money. You're the first. You guys are the first people we've worked with. 1, that we feel like we can trust, but then 2, that's actually helped us. That's when, it's like, all the hard work that we're doing and the way that we're partnering, it just makes it worth it.
That's awesome. So, I actually want to talk to you a little bit more about some of that offline. But when it comes to your company, I know like when it comes to your clients, it's very faith plays a big role in your relationships. But what about with your team? How does faith play a role there?
That's something that we're really trying to figure out, especially with our international employees. And me and my director of operations, we talk about that often. As we grow, we definitely want to really hone in on hiring people that share in the same, and have the same values as we do, because we want to incorporate prayer within our meetings and things
Yep.
of that nature. Right now it's difficult for us to do that, just simply because we do have some employees that don't necessarily fit that in this season.
Mm-hmm.
We love those employees. For us right now, we're trying to see that as an opportunity, like a harvest opportunity. And so
Yeah.
we're not trying to be forceful with that.
Mm-hmm.
We do take every opportunity that we can with our international employees and team members, to serve them and to love them the way that Jesus would, and to invest in them in that same way. Um, but we're really taking that side of it slow, just trying to figure out, hey, how can we do this in a way that honors God, that's not, really forceful, but that also drives the point home of who we are, and then giving that invitation to have a relationship with Jesus. And so
Yeah.
really trying to figure that out.
I know with our team that's highly important to me as personal values as well, but it is to all of our team as well because that's culture that we've cultivated and created here. Like we even go so far as to do devotions together and prayer as often as possible, and yeah, it's a huge part of who we are and what we do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it because the thing is like the culture comes out of the leadership, right? Like your life, and I know you believe, very similarly to how I believe. Like it's not like, hey, I got a business over here, so let's compartmentalize that, and then over here I go to church on Sundays, and that's its own thing, and then my family's over here. Like no, no, no. That's the first thing, and everything else flows out of that.
That's right. 100%. 100%. And we even want that to be true with the clients that we serve. I mean, and that's a huge part of where we're moving, uh,
Mm-hmm.
is we want to create community with the people that we serve. We want to add value to the people that maybe we're not serving as clients. And so we're going to create community just around that whole basis of, listen, like what you do every day, I don't care if it's being a school teacher, a coach, I don't care if it's running a business, if you're cutting grass, you know, you have an opportunity to really make an impact, for the glory of God. And so we're trying to find creative ways to do that. We're kind of on the start of it, right now, but a huge focus for us right now is just trying to create this community to help Christian entrepreneurs and business owners understand, hey, ministry in the marketplace is one of the greatest opportunities right now. Take full advantage of that. Go
Oh,
make a
it
difference.
is. Yeah, and a lot of people think. I had a friend of mine that is getting ready to get into a new season of their life, and had been in ministry, pastoral ministry, and for a long time, and they said, "Oh, I'm getting out of ministry." I said, "You're not. You're just getting out of the office of pastor."
Yeah,
It's going to continue to you're going to continue to do ministry, and like one, I knew what the person had meant when they said it, but simultaneously, I said you need to stop saying that because like you're not getting out of ministry, you're just getting out of a job.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's just that stigma and I think with good intentions, the church has kind of created, and it's that, hey, you're not in ministry unless you're a pastor or you're, serving in a church somewhere. And I think that stigma is definitely breaking. I
Yeah.
think we see a lot of emphasis on marketplace ministry, and church in the home, even with families and family devotions and Bible studies, which is
Mm-hmm.
important to even what we do in my household, which I'm so glad to see.
But
that stigma is broken.
the reality is, Wesley, and I know I do, and I even consider it that way, but you do as well as a business owner. Like, you're shepherding a flock still.
That's right. Yes. Yes.
And not just with your team, but with your your customers, with the rest of the community, and like, you're influential on online and social media as well.
That's right.
So I think for us to think, oh well, you got to work at a church for you to be in ministry is, again, I think that stigma, need to realize, like, no, that's not the only ministry. In fact, like, as a person in business and a person in the marketplace, and as you go throughout life, like, you can touch a lot more people in different ways than someone who works at a church ever could.
That's right. And I think my greatest opportunity for ministry, when it really comes down to it, is right where I'm at in that moment. I think
That's
we
right.
kind of look at, for me, going into a church plant, it was all about, growing this life-giving church with thousands of people, which never came to fruition. But I remember, we were able to connect we were doing it out of our apartment complex is how we got started. But we were doing a Bible study on Sunday nights. That's kind of how we got going. And we had people going who, were not involved in church, but they were coming. And so I struggled, and I mentioned this, with feeling like we made a difference, feeling like the church plant was a failure and all this stuff. But I know there were some people that we came in contact with during that season. We never saw thousands of people come, but there were a few people that came that we were able to impact in a tremendous way. And one of those individuals just recently passed away, and his son actually reached out to me. We kind of remained friends. One of the sons reached out to me, and he told me, he said, man, my dad was so greatly impacted by what y'all did in the short time y'all were here in Middle Tennessee. And I think that just goes to show you, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to be in front of thousands of people all the time, but it might be that one yard that you cut, or that one client that you serve, or that one team member that you encourage, that makes the difference in that moment. And so where I'm at right now is my greatest opportunity for ministry, not some role. My purpose is not defined. I am not defined by a role or a title. I am defined by who Jesus says I am, which is the fact that I am a son of God.
That's right. That's right. So, Wesley, if someone's out there watching, this episode or listening, and they're like, hey, I'm raising my hand. I'm that guy. I'm that local service business owner, faith-based, and all those things, and I'm looking for help with marketing. How do they get in touch with you?
They can look me up on social media. I'm pretty sure all of my social media handles are Wesley, Wesley Woods. We don't do a whole lot with our business through social media, just simply because I feel like we have a greater opportunity just through our personal stuff. We still have those different avenues that people can connect with us on. But yeah, they can look me up, Facebook, Instagram. I'm now on TikTok. I'm not really doing anything on YouTube right now, but I am trying to create some short form content, and pretty much all of my handles are Wesley D. Woods, where you can locate me at.
Wesley, is there any last words you want to leave our audience with?
Oh, just be where your feet are. That's something, and that's not original to me, but that's something that I think about often, because I think that, especially in the flow of life, we get busy. I was just talking with a young man today who lives in Nashville. He was an artist. He's started his own business, and he called and he said, hey man, I need help understanding work-life balance. And I think it's easy to get caught up in life and work and all these things. And I just want to remind you, because I'm a 40-year-old guy now that's got a 16-year-old daughter at home, that time flies. And so be where your feet are, be intentional, stay focused on doing the right thing, sowing good seed. And I can guarantee you that God will bless you in the journey that you're on.
Awesome. I love that word. All right, guys. Well, if you need help with your marketing, your local service-based business, get in touch with Wesley. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. God bless.